Genya is a demon slayer with no breathing techniques. He can't use them, but he has a unique physical composition that makes it so eating demons is possible. Normally, this would be completely toxic for a human being, but for Genya, this actually boosts his physical power and gives him demon-like abilities like regeneration. And with no breathing style to rely on, Genya needed a special weapon to wield in combat, a double-barrel shotgun. This character is without a doubt the most unique slayer in the whole show. But how would he fight if he made it into the video game? With a Demon Slayer sequel certainly in the works, Genya is one of the characters that I'd be the most curious to see made into a moveset, because my first impression is that it would basically play like this: normal attacks, shoot; skill, shoot; tilt skill, shoot; ultimate, shoot, shoot. After analyzing the whole season frame by frame and saving all of his moves, turns out there are a couple of other things that we can actually use, like throwing a tree. How could I forget? And I think I've been able to build a pretty interesting character. Now bear in mind that this was not the last time we saw Genya in Demon Slayer, and even though he showcases new abilities later in the manga, we will not be using those at all. We'll be keeping this video spoiler free for anime fans only. Not only because we love you guys, but also the character will most likely not even have those abilities in the next game. It's definitely too soon. They'll remake the character later if they need to. So this is how Genya fights, and this is how his style would translate over to the Demon Slayer game. To make a character in Demon Slayer, you need all of these moves, and this time, unfortunately, I couldn't find all of them in this season of Demon Slayer. I don't have an effect for his boosted attacks, but more importantly, I don't have an ultimate. Usually what happens in situations like these is we see CyberConnect 2 creating something new, something original that didn't happen in the anime, but still fits the character. There are plenty of characters with completely made up ultimates in Hinokami Chronicles, so this definitely wouldn't be a first. The good news is both of those things are purely visual. They don't impact the character from a gameplay standpoint, so here's what I think Genya would play like. Genya would be the first slayer in this game with actual projectiles. Not only that, but they would actually be the best projectiles in the game. They should be at least as fast as Rui's tilt skill, if not faster. You definitely want players to be able to see the bullets coming, but you want to make them pretty hard to react. And while that sounds completely broken, it also comes with a pretty big downside. The double barrel shotgun only holds up 2 bullets, after which Genya would have to reload. But we're getting ahead of ourselves, so let's go back to the start and talk about his normals. I think this is where we find Genya's first gimmick, and it's a pretty bad gimmick for him. His normal attacks would deal less damage than usual. He's not a very strong slayer when it comes to swordsmanship. After all, he can't use any breathing styles, which in this universe is pretty deadly. So even though he uses his sword for his normal attacks, these are going to deal less damage than most of the other auto combos in the game. And after the first 3 attacks in the auto combo, we have the 3 finishers: the neutral finisher, the up finisher, and the down finisher, which every character in this game has. And this is where we see him shoot his gun for the first time. All 3 finishers are a single shot from his gun, and they would all come with a quick reload animation too. I don't want anyone managing ammo, not yet. His jumping attacks are also going to be more bullets. He's going to fire his gun 1 or twice depending on how many attacks you do in the air. It's similar to Susamuru's jumping attacks, only with the gun, but they would have a limited range. Otherwise, firing bullets in the air for free, that would be way too powerful. And the dive is done with the sword attack. Back on the ground, I couldn't find much for his strong attack, but Genya is tanky. He can surely take a hit, so I'm thinking he assumes a defensive stance and then shoots his gun. It's kind of a ranged strong attack now that I think of it, but it would have a lot of recovery like most strong attacks do. Yahaba also has a long range strong attack. Now granted, it doesn't deal any damage, but the projectiles here are slow, so if he pulls it off, he can usually recover and be pretty safe. With Genya, the projectile is fast because it's a bullet, so definitely very risky to use if the opponent blocks it. Now for the grab, I did find something pretty unique. So if Genya is able to grab you, he's gonna take a bite. Yeah, he eats his opponents. Only a little bit though. And I think it would be cool if we add a unique effect if the opponent is a demon. If it's a slayer, it's a normal grab. You bite them, they take damage, and then you go back to neutral. But if it's a demon, taking the bite would actually heal Genya a little bit, just to give it some lore accuracy, a cool attention to detail. But with that out of the way, we finally made it to his skills, which is always where the best gimmicks are. And we're gonna start strong with the skill button. This is the button you press whenever you want to fire a bullet. You can press the button once to fire just 1 or twice to fire the 2 shots. And this is the strongest projectile in the game that I was talking about. At least as fast as Rui's tilt skill and dealing a lot more damage. Genya has no damage in his normal attacks because it all comes from here. Also, this spends no meter. It's free. I swear I'm not trying to make this character broken, because it comes with a very big downside. Only 2 bullets, remember. So after you shoot those 2 bullets, if you press the skill button again, you're gonna reload. And the reload animation leaves you completely vulnerable, but of course you can stay safe by using switch tech like any other skills in the game. But this also means that we're gonna have an ammo counter on screen. So whenever you play as Genya, you get a little bonus thing next to your meter. Also, if you stay idle for long enough for your meter to start recharging, it's also gonna reload those 2 bullets back. So you've you've got two ways of reloading bullets. It's a really big downside. Think of it like this. Genya is only dealing big damage with those two bullets. While he has them, you gotta look out for it, but after he spends them, you can be a lot more chaotic. You don't have to be so scared of his damage anymore, which leads us into his tilt skill. Genya is gonna rush you, grab you, and rip your arms out. This is probably the move you go for when you're out of bullets. And it works because the rush is also armored. It's unsafe on block, but it is armored. In fact, if you get attacked, he quickly reloads and fires one bullet. So this is the third way you have to reload your weapon. That said, it spends a bullet right away. This is a reference for when you get stabbed by one of the demons and counterattacks by shooting that demon while stabbed by the spear. He takes the attack, he takes the damage, but also counters with bigger damage and gets a reload. It works a little bit like Yushiro's parry in the game. If you just do the ability in neutral, Yushiro rushes up and hits you. But if you attack him, he triggers a completely different animation, and the attack, even though it looks similar, it has different properties. Finally, the guard skill where yes, the gimmicks continue. This is a passive skill. It does not attack the opponent in any way. Genya just falls to his knees and starts praying. And while he prays, his health is healing. That's right, this is the first Slayer that can heal themselves. Now, technically, he doesn't need to pray in order to heal in the show. The prayer is only really used to clear his mind and focus on the objective, but we had to give him something. Otherwise, we had to make him the same as demons, healing whenever you boost or surge. But I think at the end of the day, Genya's regeneration is not as powerful as a normal demon. He is a human after all, so the method for healing should also be different. Of course, you're vulnerable while you're healing, but think of this ability as something like Murata's cheer. Murata is vulnerable while cheering, but you can always switch characters while he cheers on the back. Same thing would work for Genya. But let's spend some meter. If you don't heal when you boost, what do you get? Well, the same thing that everyone else gets. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any boosted effect for his attack, so I have no idea what it would look like, but I do have a boosted combo finisher, the tree. Yep, we need to include the tree. So think back to the auto combo, the sword attacks, finish it with a gun, and then the animation of him picking up a tree and just throwing it. And as for the surge, we have the perfect surge animation right here, pointing the sword and then crossing it with a gun. Oh yeah, he's so ready for battle. But I would also love to see him changing forms while this is happening. One of the new mechanics that I'd love to see in a Demon Slayer sequel is actual transformations during Surge. Not for all characters, but a lot of them deserve it. And this is when we would see Genya's demon form. And just like that, we've actually used everything. Every single frame where Genya fights, we have already put into this video, which means we don't have an ultimate. I guess he really didn't have a big finishing move this season, so yeah, we're gonna have to make stuff up. So let's say we start with a couple of shotgun shots, go into some sword slashing, and then he bites the enemy for some reason, and then throws a tree at the opponent. No, then he throws 3 trees at the opponent, because it's an ultimate. So to summarize, his attacks will deal low damage with a sword, and the finishers are ranged attacks. Jumping attacks are also free projectiles, but with limited range. I mean, this is not Enmu. The strong attack is also a projectile, this one with big recovery, so you still gotta be careful. And if the grab is done on a demon, it will actually heal Genya. The skill button is free, it fires 1 or 2 shots and then reloads, showing that unique resource next to his meter. Tilt skill is an armored charge that can change attacks if Genya gets stabbed, and guard skill is a prayer that heals him. Of course, we didn't forget the tree for when he's boosted, and the surge animation should give us an actual visual transformation into his demon form. As for the ultimate, CC2 would have to make something up. And that's how Genya would fight in Hinokami Chronicles, in my opinion. Let me know if you guys enjoy the moveset, and if you want to know more about this supposed Demon Slayer sequel, check out this video right here. Thanks for watching. Bye.